Hello, and welcome to Morning with a Mentor. My name is Diller Schwartz, and I am your host. Please join me on Wednesday mornings at 8:30 a.m. while I interview top talent in our KW Austin family.
I made my 10 contacts by 1 or 2 o'clock. Like I won the day. Everything after that is just extra. But my name is Chris Hall. I am on the Papazan Property Group. I have been with Wendy Papazan with her for a little over 7 years now. I am her director of agent training, as well as her lead buyer's agent, and have born and raised in Austin my entire life. So love it.
Awesome. What school did you go to? What's your high school?
I went to good old Lanier Vikings. Don't worry if you don't know. No one ever does, because it's not even called Lanier anymore. Now it's called Navarro.
It's Northeast, right?
It's pretty much north, right off of 183.
All right. So, somewhat of a unicorn being that you're from Austin. All right. And then the next question I want to make sure that everyone knows is, have I prepped you in any way for this interview?
Not really. No, I wouldn't say so. I didn't get the interview questions, so I would say, but am I aware I'm interviewing? Absolutely. So yes.
So for those of you who are new, what we're doing is every Wednesday, we're picking a new agent in the market center that I'm asking the same roughly 5 questions to, and we're making a library so that you can go through and we'll have sort of like a syllabus, I guess, of what the agents each talk about so that you can go in and listen to how all of the agents in the market center who are succeeding at very high levels are basically doing the same thing with their own personal spins on it. You can also use this for recruiting. If you have someone who's thinking about coming to Keller Williams or thinking about getting a real estate and they're just not really sure like what to do, or if you need a refresh, go through and listen to some of the older interviews. We're going to do our best to stick to 30 minutes. And this is a unscripted answer as you wish, Chris. And then if you guys have any questions, first of all, if you're driving, try not just interrupt us. It's totally fine. We're all being casual in these calls. And then if you do have a question and you can actually type it, throw it in the chat and I'll try to check it as we go along. So Chris, you're a top agent, you're on a top team. Let's talk about what are your daily priorities look like?
Yeah. So probably my daily priority that starts with me is, so we actually use a system, and for us with that system is I'll go right into it and check what we have tagged now. We changed to a new system. We're in Sierra. We were in Airtable. But for me, my daily priority is going right to see what my top pipeline clients are. So essentially, it used to be my A buyers. Now it's what we call our prime buyers. So it's all of our buyers who we know are active within the next pretty much 30 to 60 days. And I'm probably looking at that at least probably the first thing I'm looking at in my pipeline, if not multiple times in my pipeline, to make sure I understand where they're at in the process, what action item needs to get done before anything else.
All right. So, and you strictly work with buyers, correct?
I work with some sellers. It's gonna be my personal sphere, but probably about 90% of my clientele are buyers.
All right, good. This is going to be an awesome one because I think you're one of the first agents that one is on a team and two has that like more direct role. So, and also guys, the recruiting and training guidelines have changed within our market center. So if you are interested in a team and you do like what Chris has to say, you're more than welcome to reach out to Chris and schedule an interview with him to discuss what it looks like to be on his team, mentored by him. The gates are open to have that conversation. Okay, so you check your pipeline. What is your lead gen goals?
Yeah. So my lead gen goals, and this is actually, we've changed it up, and this is something I visit with my MAPS coach on. So, and this is different from my pipeline, because my pipeline is my lead follow-up. My lead gen goals are actually my new contacts, my calls with clients I haven't touched base with. And so that for me is actually only 50 contacts a week. I'm not trying to pound out 100 contacts. I'm not trying to call as many people as I possibly can. But what we've done is my coach has gotten very intentional. So whoever I'm reaching out to, I'm finding my connectors. So who are my game changers? Who are my influencers? Who's the people that I need to be talking to? Because instead of just talking to more people, let's talk to fewer people that are going to get us better results. So
So can you
my
break
goal
that?
is, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. So in your lead gen, you're trying to have 50 new conversations a week.
Pretty much. So it's about 10 conversations a day. Simple enough.
You're looking for, I love those descriptors that you gave us. You said your game changers.
My influencers, my connectors. So these are going to be like your financial advisors. These may be your community leaders. These may be your coaches. These may be people like your teachers, people that you know get in front of large groups on a regular basis. Because we just said, like, hey, the market's going to be slower, it's going to be tougher. We understand that, but we can either sit here and double down and call after call for call, or let's get intentional and just connect with the right people and have them also speak and advocate on your behalf.
I love that. Have someone who can speak. I want everyone to write that down. I love that what he just said. Speak and advocate on your behalf. I'm going to go off my 5 questions real quick. What does it take to train someone to do that? So I'm someone in the community that you've reached out to. What does it look like? What does it sound like for me to now go out and be trained to speak on behalf of Chris Hall?
Yeah. So sometimes it is just explaining them the process. Some people don't quite understand how it works in real estate. And so when they hear of someone that has a friend, what usually the thing they say is, hey, don't worry, I gave my phone number to my friend. And so a lot of times that's great. And we obviously appreciate that because that's a first step. But a lot of times that phone number gets lost. They take it, it doesn't really go through. Nothing really ever comes from that. So a lot of times it is just explaining the process. Hey, look, I'm an agent and I work. And I work by actually being the one that makes the phone call to make that introduction. A lot of times people are scared or intimidated or think I'm busy when reality I may be busy, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect them at the right time. So it's gonna be right for both of us and I'll make that call. So if you have that person, send their number my way and I'll reach out and make you an introduction. Or if you feel comfortable and you don't want me calling them, then make an introduction or a group text with both of us in there. So we're all in one, so they know it's a little more warmer, a little more comfortable. And because of that, you'll see a better conversion. Because I don't want to have like a 2 to 3% conversion rate. I'm looking for something that's 20 to 30% conversion. So when I connect with people, since I'm connecting with less people, I still want to have good numbers. So it's either start an introduction text or let them know and I'll reach out to them to have that introduction so they understand that. And a lot of times people just don't understand real estate. You'd be surprised how much we assume and come to find out that they don't know. And so we just have to be comfortable having that discussion.
Yeah, I had to have that a little bit with my wife. She's a hairdresser, hairstylist, and I'm like all these people in her chair. And at first I wanted to put stickers and cups or whatever in the salon with my name on them, because it was just like this message. But then it was like, no, when you talk to them, you need to group text exactly what you said. Let me know as soon as they walk out. Can I call them? What is their home address? You've got to steer it a little bit more because even the people closest to you, they'll say something like, oh, my son's a realtor. And that's it.
So, and it probably is it. But he's also probably a full-time firefighter or someone that does 40, 50 hours, something else. And a lot of times they're not an actual full-time realtor who does 1 to 2 deals a year,
Yeah.
which as a side hobby is great. But what are you wanting to hire?
I love that. Ooh, what are you wanting to hire? You guys need to write that script down too. What are you wanting to hire? All right, Chris. So let's say it's 4 o'clock.
Right.
You're getting ready to sort of wrap up the more business part of the day. How will you know that you won it when you're finally at home, you're eating dinner? How do you know that you won the day?
Well, some of it's just kind of going back to what I just mentioned. It's just simple things. So that I just make my 10 contacts. If I make my 10 contacts by 1 or 2 o'clock, like I've won the day. Everything after that's just extra. So I've over time have learned fortunately, real estate is a very simple thing if you just do the activities. And unfortunately, we just don't know it because we will do the activities, but we don't see anything right away. And it's something that we just have to pay into for the long term. And if you just continue trusting the process and but doing the process, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll do it really good for 2 weeks or even less, and then we stop doing it because we haven't seen any results within the first 2 weeks. And that's just the human nature. We want the results now. We're a very instant gratification type of society. And so if we don't see it right now, we don't do it anymore.
Right. What would you
And
say on average it takes you to form a new habit? Because you just sort of told us that, right? You went from sort of an older school mindset of where it was contact, 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 and then now it's deeper rooted relationships with your influencers. So how long is it taking you to do that?
for me, I'll tell you, I mean, I'll pull right out finding the one thing. One thing says 66 days. Usually for me, by day 40, day 45, it's pretty instilled. I'm usually pretty locked in because I'm pretty habitual and kind of just at a certain point, like I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, do it. Like if it's not gonna work, then I'm not gonna do it. So I'll know by then, is this one me? Because I'm gonna know what works for me. I understand how I work. There's certain things that people do amazing jobs at. Great. But I know what I can and can't do it. And if I don't like it, I'll stop doing it or I'll find someone to do it for me.
Ooh, replacement.
Hmm.
Like that. All right. Here's my favorite question of these interviews. I've learned a lot from asking this question to so many agents recently. So if you had to get one home under contract in 14 days or less, you got Jay Papazon breathing down your back. 14 days or less. What's the activity that you go to?
What's the activity I go to? So is it a home under contract or a client under contract?
A client under contract.
Okay, I gotta get client under contract. Because if you say home, my
Yeah.
activity, I'm gonna go and slam these new builders.
Hold on.
They're desperate.
I think you actually brought up a really great point that we've not really separated. I think the agents have just picked one. Let's talk about, you have to get a new client under contract with a rep signed.
Okay.
Who are you
Client
going
under contract, the rep sign. For me personally, it's my database and the two individual ones is my past clients and my personal sphere. I've over the years with my coach identified what my niche in within my personal sphere is. I'm a buyer's agent who really focuses on first-time home buyers for new construction. Right now, new construction is struggling more than ever. So you said when you got to get a home under contract, I'm going right after new construction.
And
They're
what does it
giving-
look like when you say you're going right after new construction? Are you going and talking to the sales agents? Do you read the pred? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, so I a lot of times post on the Facebook forum. So if you go to new build construction forum, I post on there and I let them come to me. But I've also had a relationship over time because I consistently post in there. And so agents or sales agents will actually send me their list and say, hey, we need to get a home moved, or hey, we had something terminate. Do you have any investors? Or do you know anyone? And I'll ask them, give me the incentives, give me the rundown, and how desperate is your sales manager?
All right.
And then I do a quick call to action. I leave it very vague, so it keeps the people intrigued. And then I send that out to my investors, my clients, and we will pull either a pro forma or whatever that may be to get them triggered. So that's a home. Now for a client, it's going to be my database and sphere. If it's someone I cannot pull right now, and I have to create a brand new buyer, it will be straight to my past clients and then my personal sphere.
Let me take you back. So you've been with Wendy for 7 years, you said?
Yes.
Let's go back to your 1 or 2, which I remember. I've been in the market center with Chris since he came on board. Let's just go back to year 1 or 2. Regardless of market conditions, you still have to get someone with a rep sign in your first 15 days or less. What would you have done then?
I wouldn't have been scared to ask. A lot of times we get scared of ask or think we're being salesy. Sometimes people love to be sold. If you go and ask them, hey, when you buying your next investment property, it makes them feel so good because they feel like a legitimate person. Because like you didn't even ask me about my first home, but you're asking me about investing. Everyone wants to be invested. So when
Yep.
you ask them about investing, it makes them feel empowered. It makes them feel good. So when you just ask about them, they'll talk. So you'd be surprised how many people would just start talking once you just ask them a question and be quiet.
Perfect. Are you a big social media guy?
I wouldn't say so, no.
I didn't think so. I see Warren's stuff.
Warren stuff, for me, I'm to answer your question, I'm a big social media guy, yes, but I don't post. I slide in everyone's DMs. So I'm constantly interacting with stories. I'm constantly engaging. I'm constantly having one-on-one conversations behind the scenes. But if
I
you
love
check
that.
my feeds or my pages, there's not much on there.
All right, so I'm taking some notes here. One-on-one conver. If you guys are reading the chat and y'all see terrible spelling, it's actually I'm an hour before you guys in Colorado, and I've had half a cup of coffee. So, okay, there you go. One-on-one conversations behind the scenes. I know a few of you guys on here aren't super big social media, and that's totally fine. I have to push myself to do social media, but I love that, just going behind the scenes and having those one-on-one conversations, commenting on things.
Every
So,
day I'll check Facebook and the first thing I go through is I see whose birthday it is. And I send them a direct message. I won't post on their wall because there's probably about 200 other posts.
Mhm.
So I'll send them a direct message and probably 90% of the time I'll get a response back. That's the first thing almost I check every single day with social media.
All right, I like that. Okay. Um, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to take a pause real quick while I catch this all up. Anybody questions? Any ahas? If you're driving, do not share on, do not text, do not type. I see Jan and Joy taking a lot of notes. Yep. All right. Okay. So let's also ask, I'm going to ask this. So what is your favorite script right now for buyers who they're, let's say, warm? I don't really think we have that many cold leads in the market. I think if someone's asking you questions, they're warm.
Yeah.
We're trained to think they're cold, but if they're asking you questions, they're warm. Can you just give us, like, I don't know, your top 3 to 4 scripts, sentences on just the overview of the market of how you would explain it to someone right now?
Well, fortunately, like I said, my majority of my clients are buyers. So it is looking at this, you can look at the numbers, they may say balanced or whatever you want to look at, or depending on the actual numbers, but it feels like a buyer's market. And so for me, it's just asking the underlying question. And some of the conversations we're having right now is just a go back conversation and say, the big question I'm asking right now is when we first met, what has changed since we've met? Because you haven't bought yet. So I'm really trying to understand what's happening in their life that I'm not aware of. Because as we know in this market, probably majority of the buyers we worked with has been more than a couple months now. We have a lot of people that are just hanging there and hanging around. And so I'm going back and trying to understand like, what's changed since we last spoke and everything's saved in our system. Hey, we met on this date. I know exactly when we met. So from then to now, what am I missing or what am I not aware of that's preventing you from buying? And so I'm really trying to go back and understand one, their motivation, or two, what am I not aware of that I should be aware of?
I like it.
So
We got a question.
love it.
Sorry, and I'm actually right. I just text that to my team. We have a new competition, sorry, that we're running this week, and so I just text them from Chris Hall. All right. So Frederick is asking, how solid and adjustable is your daily routine? Are you time blocked or is it more of a flow?
Yeah.
And do the types of do the type of activities you perform vary from week to week or month to month?
So mine is actually a little bit of both, I would say. There's certain things that I have for sure locked, but my schedule does not look like Warren, who's another team member online, who's literally blocked out through one entire day. If you look at my schedule, other than right now, we have our morning routine pretty blocked in. So we have exactly when our scripts are, we have exactly when our morning huddles are, and then we have our lead gen. That is usually an 8:40 time frame, and then a 9 o'clock, and then till 11. After that, it's pretty open. But what I don't change after 11 is I will have appointment slots, multiple slots on my calendar throughout the day, varying from time to time. So on Monday, I might have a 1 p.m. slot or a 4 p.m. slot. And then on Tuesday, I might only have a one-time slot. For Wednesday, I might have multiple slots. And that is for one with the help of our ISA that we have. So when he's looking at my calendar and setting an appointment, he'll know exactly what's available so he can go back to the client to lock them in. I also just do that for myself personally. So when I go to check my calendar and I'm meeting with a client, instead of just saying, hey, I can meet you whenever, I don't have any business, I'm saying, actually, I can only meet you at this time or this time to solidify who I am. And you'll find people will make that work.
Yeah, don't you think if you just present yourself as sure, I can be there whenever, whatever, it sort of it
That
eliminates
diminishes. I think it diminishes your value, and over time, it starts making them think that means it's all the time.
Right.
So, absolutely, I make sure like I can meet you at this time or this time. So I give them options, so it makes them feel like they're in control and make them feel like they're making the decision. In reality, I'm the one kind of dictating my own schedule and not just letting them run and run. Because a lot of times they'll say, well, I can meet you whenever. And they're like, okay, fantastic. Let's meet at 7 p.m. Like, well, you just asking the question. Now you got to go back and tell them no.
Right. Give them options. Be okay protecting your schedule. Especially, there are people out there who can't deal with chaos. And they don't work well in that environment. And if you're like, sure, whenever, whatever, they need that structure and they need someone like you to put it in place.
So if they're not available, they'll tell them they'll come back and give a time. But then you work with them on the time. But majority of the time, if you give them a structured, 90% of the time, they're going to make it work. Or if they're not, they're going to come back and give you times. And then based on those times, you then choose what works best for you. So you still get the schedule you want to make your business work.
Yep. All right. Any questions about that? Did that answer? Who was that, Frederick?
So, but it is ebb and flow. Like I said, after that, it's kind of whatever. I'll have different routines, different things. I'll put as much as I can on my schedule. But once we get past that, then it's kind of open time for me to continue and follow up, another appointment, but I'll put it on my calendar. But it's not completely blocked from 9 to 5.
And that's one of the reasons too we're doing this. Is so that you guys can hear these different, I guess, ways or systems to do that. And here's also, so Chris is talking about Warren a lot. I've been talking about Warren. You have a primarily listing agent and a buyer's agent on the same team. They're on Wendy's Papazon's team. If you guys want to go look up, if you're new and don't know who she is, you should. If you wait, once we're finished with Chris, I will find Warren's interview and I will post it in the chat so you can go and listen to it. Cause it is really interesting. Two people who are in the same environment and they are fairly different. And that's what I want you guys to get out of all of this. There's so many ways to do this. Just pick some really good habits and follow these people and do it. And also know that we're not unreachable. You can contact us. You can email us. You can ask questions, shadow us, things like that. Just remember my one request. If you're going to send us an email, please send us one with a bulleted list. Do not blast us with 100 emails. I forgot to say that once and got 29 emails from one person, which was amazing, but I couldn't answer them all.
Ask the question, send an email. Ask the question, send an email.
Yep. Okay. So let's do this. What is one action item? Let's go back to like, let's say like year 2 for you. What is one action item that you're like, you have to do this every week that you would give to newer agents? And here's some of the examples. Send 10 thank you cards or gratitude cards a week. Schedule all of your open houses by Wednesday at 3 p.m. Door knock 10 homes a week. Have your conversations. We had someone say post in whatever forum religiously, like 10 times a week.
Yeah.
What's your action item that you're like, you have to do this?
For me, I would say I realized over time I created my database, and what I didn't implement and reinforce my database. If you come to me and say, Chris, do you have a database of 10,000 people? I don't. I have a database probably of like 250 people, but those 250 people love me. And so for me, I made sure that every single week by year 2, which was kind of funny because I was year 1, I was all open houses. I was literally doing open house, open house, open house, whether it's slow bids or not. But when I was in the open house, I was messaging people. I was sending messages. I'm there. I don't have any, I can then I'm waiting for the next person to come in. Let me send a message to my sphere, slide in someone's DMs, check in on them, see how they're doing, whatever that may be. And what I didn't realize I was doing is people were listening and paying attention to what I was doing. So when I didn't look back at year 2, I realized I pretty much created a small moat of my VIPs. And so I just love on those VIPs. And so if I was go back and be even more intentional around it, I'd be reaching out every single week and getting coffee and getting in front of people. So every single week I would say, who do I need to have coffee with today? And it doesn't mean I need to get coffee. I can go there and get a water. I can go there and do something. But for me, it was building my VIP list as quickly as possible. Because those are the people that of my 20% of my database probably give me 80% of my business.
Yeah. And our new market center is a cool place to hang out, guys. We didn't have that when Chris and I started. You didn't want to hang out.
That was an old office building. I mean, it wasn't the same building, but it was
Yeah.
different vibes.
Save some cash right now. Have someone, grab a Starbucks or something and go to the office, or the office has the little coffee station now. Upstairs, there's free coffee, there's sodas, there's snacks. There's this cool leather sofas. Like, you can use all of that to have these meetings, and you won't waste time because you're not driving around, right? I figured out I waste a lot of time driving around until I get purposeful with all my appointments. I will take a listing appointment at the Keller Williams office. Yeah, I'm not driving around as much as I can because those 30-minute trips waste a lot of time. So, all right, guys, we have like 1 minute left. Does anyone have any final questions? All right. Well, this will be recorded, and guys, we're trying to get 20 recordings before we make the final website so that you guys can go and watch all of them. But if you just hang out for a second, I will post Warren's interview so y'all can go back and hear them back to back. I think that would be a really good idea. And thanks, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate having me. Thank y'all, and y'all have a good one.
All right.
Bye, y'all.